This is the Shotgun City Sheriff, the law himself, Clayton Clark.
This is the young Titan, Aaron Atlas.
Hey, this is Matt Brannigan.
This is the war-bound hellhound, Bo Sword.
This is your favorite drunken pro wrestler, a.k.a. the Bud Light Brawler, Dalton Davis.
This is Lizzie Six.
This is Jake Something.
And this is the jaw-jacking, back-cracking, God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, Rohit Raju, and you are listening to the Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast. Hell yeah.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast? Yeah, that's right. I stuttered. Shut up.
Why, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Spot Show Podcast, a professional wrestling podcast not about professional wrestling. I, of course, am one of your hosts, the Dr. Seuss of the commentary booth, Dickie Wabash, joined, as always, by the one-legged wonder, Mr. Michael Madrox.
How's it going, Dickie?
It's going
time
great.
no see.
It's a long time no see. It's not like we haven't been sitting here for hours with mics in front of us. Jason V's back, everyone.
Is this the one where we can bury people?
No, that was a paid show that we just did. So here's the funny thing about you saying that is that every guest that we have had on since we started the Patreon, they go, so is this the one where we can bury people?
But do they do it on air?
Huh?
Did they do it on air or before?
Some of them do.
Okay.
Because when we had Colby Jack on, he was like, so when do I get to bury people? And then we were like, on the next one, it's fine. But yeah, we had such a good conversation with Brian, and then we had you on Paid Show, and it was an even better conversation. Let's just record another Spot Show. You know what I mean? Because there's so much we didn't even really get into.
Oh, I told you, if we don't have a format, then we're going off the rails.
Oh, brother, even if we did have a format, we still wouldn't be able to cover it all.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, there's so much, because like a lot of the last one, we focused a lot on like my time with it, but like there's a time before me, and there's a time like, you know, in between. Like, there's just so much to cover.
Can I wrap up the last episode?
Yeah.
The Defenders of Professional Wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. You guys took your problems and discussed with the business and turned it into a positive, trying to make it better.
That's pretty much it.
The end.
And then we were cut off at the knees because people thought we were taking shots at it for real.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
Hey, before we take any more shots, though, at people,
segue.
they call me Dickie Segways over here, brother. Just want to let everybody know that this episode of the Spot Show Podcast is brought to you by YooHoo and Elite Pro Wrestling. But you're going to hear a little bit more about them later. That is, of course, unless you head on over to patreon.com/MadBash Studios. Back us at the $5 and above tier. You're going to be able to hear this show absolutely ad-free. You're also going to get access to Paid Show. I'm going to tell you right now, the last 3 paid shows that we have done, the last 4 have been very, very good. We had Jason V on for one, then we had Colby Jack on, and Jared Savage's paid show was very good. You can hear that exclusively over on patreon.com/MadBash Studios, but there's other shows. We got LMNOP, Legendary Matches, now on Prime Time. We got Shit Show over there. We have exclusive early access to Danville Dreamers, to The Dream Lives On over there on patreon.com/MadBash Studios. But I understand. Sometimes you don't have the extra money to toss our way. That's fine. There is a free option over on Patreon. You can back us absolutely free, and you're still going to get some really cool behind-the-scenes photos and all of that nonsense. But you can also give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platform and hit us with a share to someone that you think would be into what we are doing over here. Head on over to the YouTube, give us a subscribe. Head on over to the Facebook page, give us a like. MadBashStudios.com is the best place to find all of that stuff aggregated together in just one simple click.
Was that one simple breath?
No. If I could do that in one breath, that'd be incredible.
I'm amazed that you do that live every time.
And I've never had to redo it.
That's good.
I've had to do it once because I forgot who the sponsors were. But
you guys got buku sponsors, so.
Well, and we also trade off.
You know, humble brag and everything. Oh, too many people are giving us money. We can. We just lose track of who gave us money this week. We don't know who to put over on the podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what messes me up is that we alternate elite and hybrid. So sometimes I'll forget, is this an elite one or is this a hybrid one? But it doesn't matter.
Before we
matter.
get into the wrestling aspect of things,
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head here, like when the podcast is dropping.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
I got a good question. What are you doing for Thanksgiving, sir?
I don't celebrate these things.
Oh,
I don't
simple
celebrate
answer.
any of that stuff.
Boy, that was a dead end.
That was a dead end.
You could tell Madrox was like all excited. He's like,
was. I was like, let's get in the
Every
holiday
day, not just
spirit.
November, you know.
yeah. Yeah, you are one of these guys that like doesn't believe in like calendar holidays and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so weird about you because like there's like just this layer of you where there was, remember the John LeJoie song "Merry" or "Happy Birthday!" exclamation point. Like you were just always the type of person that was like, I don't, you don't need to talk to anyone just on their birthday. Like if I want to tell you hi, I'll just get a hold of you and say, "Hi, Dickie, how are you doing?"
Yeah. Oh, I can't tell my girlfriend I love her, or take her out to a nice dinner, or give her some chocolates.
Unless it's
Because
Valentine's Day.
It's not Valentine's Day. What? No. Oh, I can't blow my hand up because it's not 4th of July.
Yeah.
No.
Boy, I will
I'll
say,
do whatever I want.
I'm just excited for the food. I'm a fat kid.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like I'm someone that I love holidays, man. I love holidays. I look so forward to them. Like we're coming up on Christmas. So excited for Christmas. So excited for Halloween. So excited for because at the time of this recording, it's not been we haven't done it yet. But I'm excited for Thanksgiving, and it's just I love the ideas of holidays. I love New Year's. I love all this stuff because like I love to hang out with my friends and stuff. But like there's just a different vibe when it's a holiday or my loved ones or stuff like that. But yeah,
brag. Look, there's somebody's not only getting money, but he's got friends and loved ones.
Who the fuck loves you?
A lot of people.
No, holidays though, for real. Speaking of Halloween though.
Yeah.
Halloween. NVW last week.
Devil's Terror.
Hold on, never mind.
About a month ago.
Yeah, it was about a month ago. Correct, because I am in this timeline and I'm not in the previous timeline I thought I was in. So, so I do Halloween big.
Oh, you always have.
I don't. I do it as an excuse.
Yeah, fair.
So please give us. I know what me and my significant other went as, but I would like your opinions on.
I have a new favorite rat
on the Halloween. The Halloween Jason V experience.
Yeah, she was Liv Morgan and you were Raquel Rodriguez. Yes. And it was awesome. I don't know, man. The best costume is when you were franchise Chris Halls and someone else dressed up as Mike Underwood. And yes. I know that nobody here knows who that is, but it was really funny.
It's the same, and we'll probably get into it, I'm sure, because this might be a Dreamers heavy episode.
Yeah, because we didn't even. I want to talk about Danville Dreamers.
But the coal miners glove match, like you and I had the conversation before that. Like, is this a rib? Is this a rib between franchise and Mikhail Murphy? Like, because it's a coal miner's glove. No,
because I was thinking of the Botchamania joke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You think of,
and I know, sorry to cut you off, but I know your mindset, and I know the way that you like to make wrestling fun and do these weird things. But it's like, no, you were dead serious. You booked this coal miner's glove match.
It's about the sincerity.
Yeah.
So the sincerity of that match, and it went over very well for the experience level of the two gentlemen involved. But so the sincerity of the Mike Underwood costume, the sincerity of the franchise costume, the sincerity of the whole Halloween aspect that you were speaking of, because it was, you jumped in with both feet. Like we all did. So, because that day you were Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I was Kevin Owens.
And you said, "Oh, I just got a T-shirt, and I guess that's the easiest way to have a costume. I'll just be Kevin Owens."
Because I didn't expect you to go. That was the first Halloween I'd spent with you, and I didn't expect you to go that hard.
Oh, yeah, we go hard. Because I'm
all day, all night,
all day. So I'm nothing if not hypocritical. So I will say, no, I don't even like holidays. I don't like to do any of this stuff. But then here's a reason to dress up and act like a fool. I'm taking it.
Yeah. And then you dressed up. You and your girlfriend dressing up as you and Cecil Cerveza is my favorite thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
So I had to convince her about the swap because she thought I was going to be me.
No, that's what makes it funny.
And she would be Cecil. And I was like, no, let's go ahead and flip it because, it's funnier if I'm Cecil. it's funnier if you're me. So it's all about the comedy. Like
Yeah.
I was right there 0 hour, and I was going to go as Raquel Rodriguez with a full beard and chest hair because I thought it'd be funnier.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so absurd. But she said no, that I should shave my chest. And I was like, all right, fine. Well, if I'm doing that, I'm shaving the whole face. And then she got all upset. She's like, because I look terrible without my beard anymore.
You should see her face right now.
Hi, honey.
She's in there on the couch.
She's around the corner. I can't see her.
Yeah. I'm looking right at her, and she's just like disgusted with you as a human being.
She usually is.
So
That's part of my draw.
So you talk about, you're welcome for the house. So you talk about the facial hair thing. Weren't you notorious for you would shave before the show and then on the car ride back you would have a full beard? Wasn't that always the rib?
That 5 o'clock shadow at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Fun fact,
But
though, Jason V in leather pants can still throw a big boot.
He could. I did.
On my ass.
I wanted. Were you even back there for that?
I was
No.
probably busy filming.
Oh yeah, you were doing. Oh, look at me! I do work.
Yeah.
No,
Actually, that might be the first time we've publicly talked about that I filmed something there that day.
yeah.
So, little spoil ski. Maybe get to it on paid show.
So, but the way you guys operate, if you don't have a camera rolling wherever you're going, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You guys have so many irons in the fire. There's so many different things coming out of this studio. Like at any point, something is happening.
Yeah.
So
that's the way that it needs to be.
We need more cameras.
We do need more. We need so much. But anyway, I did not know that you threw a big boot at Mad Rocks.
He was saying, I don't remember even how it got brought up, but they were saying it was like about how it was because Dalton Davis and Joker 13 threw the double big boot.
Yeah.
And they did the high low because Dalton kicked at Jared's face, but Joker aimed at the belly button. Absolute 100% on purpose, I am sure.
Yeah.
Not because he can't get his leg up that high.
Think you can get your leg up that high?
And they said
Dalton Davis just popped. I'll tell you.
So he said, well, it was no Jason V boot. And I was like, well, Jason V can still throw a boot if need be. And I could probably even do it in these Raquel Rodriguez pants. I was about to drop the Gonzalez.
Yeah.
But,
so I volunteered, have to.
And then I looked around. I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it big.
So then you go to the 7 foot tall guy.
I'm going for Madrox. And I was like, well, I don't want to go ahead and, knock him down because, it's a long drop. So I went for the height and I got up there. I was proud of myself. And then I immediately got a Charlie horse.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Because I don't do a lot of stretching, brother. I'm retired.
So you are probably going to go, I don't know, but I've had plenty of conversations with people that you flat out have the best big boot in the Midwest.
I think it's about the sincerity.
Yeah.
I would treat it like the finish. And so it became a finish.
Yeah.
That was the same deal. Same with The Rock and the People's Elbow.
Yeah.
It's just an elbow drop. But that was the biggest pop of the night for him, so it became his finish.
Yeah.
He would do it well, it became his finish. I was doing other moves and they weren't getting the same reaction as the big boot. So I was like, well, the boot's the one that's over. Well, let's go ahead and use that.
Yeah, because it was like so Clayton Clark has fallen down a Jason V rabbit hole lately, and he has been and he has been watching your matches and he loves them, and he said there's two things that you can always count on whenever you watch a Jason V match. It's the Jason V waist adjustment on his tights.
That's right.
And then you can always count on boot, and then you throw the boot. Which I had to explain to him the story of why you would always scream boot before you would do it. But yeah, that was always the thing. I remember when you started using the boot is your finish, because it was one of those things of where even back then shit is a joke was like turning into something real. I was like,
yeah,
you should make it your finish, like just joking, and then you go, it's not a bad idea.
The boot originated. I'm getting my wires crossed. We spoke of the Swamp Stomp show.
Yeah,
I believe on paid show. So if you're if you're not subscribed, drop these guys some $5 and then go ahead and listen to that one.
Hell yeah, thank you.
No problem. So on that show, I left and went to a second show. The first show I wrestled Shank Barzini. The second show I was under a hood, dressed in drag, and I wrestled Thunder Kitty. And I was going to throw a drop kick. And I can't remember who it was back there, but they said, "You're like twice her size. Just throw a big boot." And I said, "I've never done a big boot." And they said, "Well, just try it tonight. See if it works." And I did it. And Cecil Cerveza and Jason Light were both in the crowd that night. And as soon as I hit her with that boot, and I
took her head off.
I put a little extra stank on it. So I want to go ahead and make it real, brother. And went ahead and hit her with that. And I looked at both of them, and jaws dropped, like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "Okay." Crowd reacted. I mean, those two reacted, but the crowd in general reacted too. And so I just started putting it into the repertoire anyway.
Yeah, but then the boot scream came from Jimmy Carrot, right?
Yes.
And Christian Rose?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the story, yeah.
The boot scream came from Jimmy Carrot, Christian Rose, because Carrot loved Rose. I don't know. I think Rose just accepted a lot of us. He tolerated us.
Yeah.
But if you know Rose at all, he's not exactly the happiest man when it comes to a lot of these things.
No, he isn't.
But he does it because, he's pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And so we're in Arkansas, and he's got his arms full with bags, and Jimmy Carrot sees him, and he goes, "Christian!" See, I pull him in the microwave.
Yeah, he did the Dickie Wabash.
Dickie.
But he says, "Christian!" And then he runs at him with his arms open to give him the hug. And Rose said, "Boot!"
Put the boot up.
He didn't have his arms free, so he just went ahead and booted him right there in the parking lot.
Dude, Jimmy Carrot has some of the best greetings that I've ever seen, because whenever I left UWC the first time, and then I just came back for a show. I just came back to watch a show, and I'm sitting on one of the benches, and Jimmy Carrot walks up, stands in front of me, facing away from me, just points at me. And then I look up, and he just does the "come here." And then I stand up, and he just turns around and hugs me, and he goes, "I fucking missed you." And then we had that same greeting, when we filmed Danville Dreamers 2. I'm filming the interview with Oliver Kane, and I see Jimmy Carrot walk in, and my eyes just light up. I'm like, fuck, I miss Carrot so much. And then as soon as we're done filming, I just fucked off Oliver, and I went, "Carrot!" And then he's like, "Dickie!" And then we hugged big. I love Jimmy Carrot. There was a time where he and I had a love-hate thing, though, where we would, one week we would like each other, one week we wouldn't like each other. But I think after the last MVW show that I was on with him, I can definitively say that he and I are fine. I don't think there's any issues with me and Carrot. He's just a good dude, man. He's another one we talked about it last time. I'd like to have him on the podcast at some point.
Part of that is the absence makes the heart grow fonder type
Yes.
aspect. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Whatever cliche you want to throw at it. I'm just happy that for the first time, and I don't know how many years, we got to showcase the Triumbred.
Oh, yeah, we did. Oh, let's not go there. But
Page show.
Yeah, Page Show podcast.
Page show.
Yeah, I don't even know if we want to do that. I don't want to revisit that time of my life, brother.
Don't blame you.
Dark days.
Don't blame you.
That was a dark 3.5 years. But yeah, and then another time, it was when we filmed the fabled UWC Christmas special, and Jimmy Carrot pulls into your driveway with his wife, and my vehicle is in the driveway, and I had an Adventure Time sticker on the back. And as soon as the car pulls in, Jimmy Carrot looks at his wife and goes, "I hope to fuck that is Dickie Wabash." And sure enough, he walks in, and then it was me, it was Carrot. He was like, "Dickie," and then he just gives me the biggest hug. I love Jimmy Carrot. He's such a good dude. And it really feels good. I'm not going to say that he's my guy, but it's to see what one of my guys has done, to see how he has made a good little name for himself. And it's really cool, because I remember when I was first coming around, and I'm like, I don't know, he's something else. He's different. I don't get it. And then when I remember the early stages of the Powder Keg character, when he started using it, and then to see what he's turned it into, it's something really cool.
Man, definitely get him on the podcast, because his story about how all that came about, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I remember when he started using it, he just said, "Hey, my name's going to start being the Powder Keg." And then we were all like, okay. And this was before he even had is it Basil?
Basil.
It was before he had the mask, and it was before he had all that. He was just because he had dropped the 24K Jimmy Carrot, and then which I still think was great. I loved that name.
It's all about evolution, though.
It is. I agree. But then like to see what he's evolved it into, it's like, yeah, good for him. Good for him.
It's the idea of like there's bones. I think I just talked to you about it the other day. The bones of like some of the NVW guys, for example, they have the bones of a good company and good workers, but there's pieces missing. They gotta add this or that. They gotta put something in there, and that's what Jimmy Carrot was missing with the powder keg. Like he's doing the powder keg, but he didn't show off. He wasn't doing like a Brian Pillman-esque type of thing. So
yeah.
Eventually he got to where he needs to be, and dude's off to the races.
Do you, and we'll get to it more because this is more of a paid show topic. Do you remember the proposed Wabash Talent Agency versus Cult of Carrot story?
I vaguely.
Yeah.
I remember we pitched something like that. We wanted to do something, but I don't remember a lot of the details.
Yeah, we can get into that'd be a fun topic for your second paid show that we'll be filming. Is that let's talk about what UWC was supposed to be before we all got tired and stopped doing it. Yeah. But because there was some good potential there were some good stories that we were starting to lay the groundwork for that really would have been good. But yeah, so you talk about NVW, that's the perfect segue into it. So one thing that, and I know you're going to be like, oh, I don't think so. You deserve as much credit as I do for Danville Dreamers 1, because if it was not for you, Danville Dreamers 1 would not have happened.
Liaison, brother. I told you, I'm just the guy that gets a guy.
Yeah.
I can get you put it in the right direction. You got to figure out how to make it work.
If we're being honest here, though, Danville Dreamers 2 would not be a thing without Brian either.
Oh, it absolutely wouldn't have been. Absolutely wouldn't have been, because even while we were filming 1, and we were in the process of editing and stuff, I was like, there's potential for a sequel here. Mm-hmm. And then you were like, oh, I don't know, maybe. And then you and I didn't talk for however many years. And then we came back. And then within a month of you and I back on speaking terms, we're back to talking about Danville Dreamers 2.
At the time of the original filming, there wasn't any reason to do a sequel.
There wasn't at all.
So the guys in the backyard are now just still in the backyard, and now it's spring instead of fall. Big deal.
Yeah.
But this one, guys were in the backyard, and they're pretending to be superstars. And now a lot of them are trained as professional wrestlers, and they have their own ring, and they have their own promotion, and they're bringing in some of the top independent talent in the area.
Yeah.
So that is something to talk about.
So do you remember who initially proposed the idea to make the documentary? Was it me or you?
It was, so I don't really remember who said the words, but the conversation was there because there was a resurgence on the first documentary.
No, I'm talking about the first one.
Oh, we're talking about the first one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've hit in the head since then. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. But no, okay, so then let's pivot down that way. Yeah, there was a huge resurgence of the second of the first one, where like a new generation of people like discovered it.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh man, like, and I honestly think in a weird way, I'm not trying to make any claims or anything. Some people that like ended up working for legit NVW now probably wouldn't have ever wanted to work for them had it not been for that first documentary.
No, I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
There's a few guys, I mean, again, not naming any names to go ahead and save their own, kayfabe, but that's how they figured out about him. That's what got them interested in it. Like, wait a minute, you guys are the ones from the documentary? It's like, yeah, I want to work for you.
Yeah, you guys are the Danville Dreamers. Like, so I have it on good authority, and I can't prove it. And I should have explored this topic more with him, but I think Simon Gotch has seen Danville Dreamers.
There's your rub right there.
Because he said, is that the one that is like Heroes of Burke County? And I said, yeah, I'm the one that made it. And then it went down another road of conversation. But I should have said, oh, hang on. Have you seen Danville Dreamers? Because like the big goal, and maybe he's seen it, I don't know if he has or not. I want to know if Jake Manning has seen Danville Dreamers, because Danville Dreamers is, for all intents and purposes, a ripoff of Heroes of Burt County.
I will not say ripoff.
It's an homage.
I will say a spiritual successor.
Spiritual successor is good.
There you go.
It's more of an homage.
You guys want
than
to call
any...
him?
Do we have? Like, I had tweeted it to him, and someone else had tweeted it to him, but I don't know if he ever saw it. And I even thank him in the credits. I was like, "Thank you, Jake Manning, for the inspiration."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very curious if Jake Manning has seen Danville Dreamers and like what he thinks about it, if he has seen it, because I owe all of it to Heroes of Burt County. And here's the funny thing about that. A couple people that were buddies with some of the MadBash boys had never seen Heroes of Burt County.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you need to watch Heroes of Burt County, and it is going to make you appreciate Danville Dreamers a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I do some of the same mannerisms that Jake Manning does.
Manningisms.
Yeah, Jake Manningisms. But like anytime Jake Manning would look at the camera, that was him trying not to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that, watch Danville Dreamers. Anytime you see me look at the camera, that's me trying not to laugh. And I want to get this out there right now and put this into the general public, because I don't want there to be any misconceptions of this at all. I legitimately respect the Halls and what they're doing.
Without a doubt.
I was in no way trying to make a joke or anything. I was legitimately sold on the idea of like, these guys have this dream and they're in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
What's making them tick? And I was legitimately wanted to know. So you made the connection, and then we go and film the first one, and we were off from there, you know, and it became what it is now.
There are so many people in this world that they wake up, they clock in at their job that they hate, and then they go home to a wife or a girlfriend or a husband or whatever, and they just don't like their life. There's so much negativity to that, but then they just go, well, what else can I do? The Halls boys and all of NVW are the opposite. They are going out there and they're saying, no, I'm going to do my dream. Maybe it's not WrestleMania, but I can have WrestleMania in my backyard. Speaking 2016, 2017, during the time of the first filming.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can do that. I can be, Roman Reigns. I can be John Cena. And, be the equivalent of that. Chris Halls is the franchise. He's Sting. You have Mr. Six. He's Vince McMahon. And you can see these guys in their backyard, and now you can see them in their own building.
Yeah.
In their own profession, in their own ring. And now we're getting a lot of other people to see that you and I have known for years.
Yeah.
See the heart, see the dedication that these guys have.
Their passion's like nothing else.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
Yeah.
And that's something that so many of us, all of us have been involved in the wrestling business for quite a while. And most of the people that we associate with have also been in the wrestling business, and we all take it for granted. That person that's in the main event of WrestleMania, that was his dream. But before that, his dream was to be in WWE. Before that, his dream was to be in a wrestling ring. And we all got to do that.
You can almost learn a lot from those guys because, we can be, you've had the car rides where you're coming back from a show and you're like, oh, this place is it's a joke.
Yep.
This is a joke, whatever. But then you look at these guys and they just got a smile on their face, and they're just out there like still for the love of the business and the love of wanting to make it grow. And like, I told you this, and this is something that I never thought about until you explained it to me. Because again, when the first documentary came out, we were not on speaking terms. So I never knew what your thoughts were on the documentary until recently. And
I flipped between like and dislike on that video a couple different times.
Really?
Yep. We're going to go ahead and peel it back, brother.
Yeah. But my one regret that I had with that entire documentary is I wish I had not interviewed their mom, because I said there was no comedy there. And not that I was outwardly trying to make that a funny documentary. It just turned into, call it what it is. It's funny. And I was like, it's just not funny. And then you said, no, you needed that. You said, because she wraps it up perfectly. And she's like, they're just out here living their dream and they're doing, and I was like, oh my God. And you made me have that epiphany. And now that's probably, Tina is my favorite part of the first Danville Dreamers now.
She's the best. She's the best because it's that unapologetic love for her kids. And not just, Mr. Six and franchise, but like all of her kids, all of the NVW group, she considers her kids.
Yes.
And she just loves everything about them, and she wants to see them reach the highest of heights.
And that's why I had to interview her for the second one.
And most of us in this world do not have somebody like that on our side.
No.
And to have something like that is just so cool.
It's just like she's the embodiment of it, because they all support one another and they all, yada yada, but she's the embodiment of it. You can put a face to the support that is going on with it. But yeah, man, like that was the thing, is that it's like we went into the first one, we didn't even know what it was going to be. We just, we had a little meeting with all the guys beforehand, and I was like, here's what we're here to do. I was like, I'm sure that you guys are made fun of a lot for what you're doing. I'm not here maliciously, guys. I love your story. I'm here to film you guys. If there are any of you that do not want to be in this documentary, you do not have to be. For those of you that do, line up. We'll interview you, and we'll go from there. And I honestly did not even know, after I had all the footage, I still did not know what that documentary was going to be. And then, boom.
And think about that too. So with piggybacking off of that, when we did the first filming, there was 5-6 people in their quote unquote audience.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some of the wrestlers that were just, when they weren't wrestling, they were out there hanging out, but there was like 5 or 6 people. And this last one that we were just a part of, Devil's Terror 2023, there was over 100 people in that little bitty building, in that little bitty back of a comic book shop in East Danville. That's unreal. Over 100 people to watch those guys, to watch franchise go ahead and fight the dastardly Mikkel Murphy for the honor of franchise's fallen father, to watch the Joker's House of Fun between Dalton Davis and Jared Savage with Joker 13 as the referee. How much more of a rags to riches story can you get?
Yeah. And it was so cool because it's like there was no MadBash whenever I first made Danville Dreamers. Now there is. So to be able to work with them on that level is it's something really special. And I even went into the second documentary not knowing what it was going to be. You and I, you being Madrox, we talked about it a lot, because you're a producer on the movie, and I was like, brother, what do we make this documentary? And you were like, just do like you did with the first one, just turn the camera on and see what happens.
Yep. And
I think that if I had planned a tone in any way, then it wouldn't be like, at this point, I'm trying to think. I don't think that it's out to the public yet, but it's definitely out on the Patreon. So far, everyone that has seen it, they think it's better than the first one. They think it's better than the first one.
It's so organic.
Well, so with the first one.
Yeah.
They all are. They both were. And I think that's always like, it's something from nothing, because we just show up, we have a voice recorder and a camcorder, and that is it. And then I made what is, for all intents and purposes, a cult classic.
Yeah. The story is there, but it's up to the artist to find it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a painter trying to figure it out, whether it's wrestlers trying to paint their own art in the match, or you as a filmmaker trying to figure out what the story is of this film. I mean, it's there. You just gotta get it going and see what it is.
I love how anyone can watch it and come out with a different outtake on it.
That's that's what I was getting ready to say.
Like, you can watch it one time and you're like, oh, this is just a comedy. The second time you're like, damn, this is a really good documentary. The third time you're like, wow, this is a story of hope and like progress.
That you pretty much just said what I was getting ready to say, is that they always say with art that it's in the eye of the beholder, and it's in the there's that line in Across the Spider-Verse where they go, or where Vulture goes, this is art, and Spider-Gwen goes, we're talking about it, right? And it's like, that's the whole thing, is that like art is always open for interpretation, and like I know how I think you should interpret it, but I'm not going to tell you how to interpret it. Some people think it's funny. Some people think it's a good story. Some people think it's inspirational. It's however you want to take it. Go ahead and take it. You know what I mean? Yeah, but that put it the best. But yeah, that's the crazy thing about it, is that we've never really, until recently, you and I, you being Jason, never really had a chance to talk about Danville Dreamers, because like as I was finishing the final edit of the movie is when we stopped talking. And the first person to see Danville Dreamers was Tolerant Zero. He was the first person to see it. So that's why I dedicated the second one to him. But yeah, he told me, he goes, well, here's what you need to change. And then I his minor changes. And then, it turned into something incredible. And like, I remember talking to you throughout the editing process, and you're like, brother, I would have had that done in like 3 days. And I said, I get that. I said, but this is my magnum opus.
Yep.
And I'm taking my time with this thing. And I toiled over that documentary so much. And then the second one comes out and I'm done in 3 days.
Keep in mind what I spoke about on the last episode with the obsession.
Yes.
The obsession. I was running UWC around that time frame, and we were doing live events on Friday. I spent all of Saturday editing it and then having it released Sunday. That's wild.
Yeah.
Wild to do that. So it's just like I needed to obsess over it and get it all out, because if not, it's going to be in the back of my head, and it's going to overwhelm my life. I need to get this done because this is my responsibility right now.
Yeah. That's definitely a good little segue into a new topic of conversation, like of you running UWC. And I say we get into it after we hear a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Yoo-Hoo, a product of Keurig Dr. Pepper. So here's what I want you to picture right now, right? You're on a long road trip. You're driving along and you're thinking, man, I could really go for a nice, sweet, refreshing drink. You pull into a gas station and the first thing you see is Yoo-Hoo. And I got to tell you, grabbing that Yoo-Hoo, that's going to be the right decision every single time. Yoo-Hoo is available in a variety of flavors: vanilla, strawberry, but here at MadBash, our personal favorite is chocolate. I'm going to tell you about Yoo-Hoo a little bit more, right? We absolutely love this stuff here at MadBash. We cannot get enough of it. And you know what? We're going to sweeten the pot a little bit here thanks to Yoo-Hoo. If you see us at a wrestling show and you buy a MadBash wrestling sticker, you are entitled to 1 free bottle of Yoo-Hoo on MadBash Studios. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Now, come on, guys. You can't beat that deal with a stick. Again, MadBash would like to thank Yoo-Hoo so much for sponsoring this episode. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is also brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling. Here's the thing about Elite Pro Wrestling, right? You have them to thank for the Spot Show podcast in many different ways. Elite Pro Wrestling gave MadBash Studios our first opportunity when we decided to come back into the wrestling business. So Elite Pro Wrestling is one of the OG backers. We love Elite Pro Wrestling so much. They are putting on incredible shows every single month. You should absolutely be there, whether it be in Odin, Indiana, Washington, Indiana, Indiana. We would love to see you in the crowd there at Elite Pro Wrestling for every single thing that you need to know about EPW. Head on over to EliteProfessionalWrestling.com. There you are going to find dates, events, links, everything that you need to know about EPW. Thank you so much for being a day one sponsor, EPW. We very much appreciate it. So yeah, we were talking about the obsessive nature of, I think it takes a special kind of person to be a video editor. I really do. You have to have something wrong in your mind, I think, to want to be a video editor, because you are looking at the same bit of video for hours just to get a 30-second clip.
That's what I was going to point out.
Yeah.
So when it's something that you're doing an entire show, sometimes you can get that done for the sake of argument relatively quickly. But if you're focusing on, let's say, a 2-minute video, and that's where you're supposed to tell your entire story in, those every 30 seconds, that's like hours.
Just like keyframe after keyframe, just trying to animate or get it clipped just right, or the video is cut off at a weird, but you gotta stretch it out, and then you gotta wait for it to render, and then you watch it and the render isn't quite how you want it to be. Then you gotta go back and change it. I credit you with, I learned video editing from Jason V. I just did. I studied you. I studied how you did it. I learned on the same programs that you would know. And I attribute...
You're still using those now, aren't you?
Yeah, I still use not the exact same. Well, I mean, I've upgraded, but
yeah, the evolution of that same program.
Yeah, which I'm still behind on that. I'm like 4 or 5 years behind on that. Like, I need to upgrade my my software, but yeah, that's the thing, is that I was always just amazed with how the show would be Friday. You would have the first episode done Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then so the way UWC was structured is there would be the first 3 weeks of the month would be weekly shows, and then we would end it with the quote unquote premium live events, if you want to call them that. And you would produce entire DVDs and stuff. And we would almost always, that Friday would be the show. You would be over at my house that Sunday evening with the DVD finished. Yeah. And we would watch the DVD. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, how do you do that? Like, I was just always just amazed to me.
Worthless for a social life that whole Saturday.
Yeah.
Do not talk to me. Get away from me. I have editing to do.
Yeah, and this is also around the time that you were taking less bookings, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because not to get too much into it, but there was someone who was doing the editing for UWC. They left you high and dry, and you had to step up.
Yeah.
And for, we
touched upon that before. I mean,
yeah.
I am the stepdad that stepped up.
Yeah, and to put it bluntly, the product that you were putting out was probably better than the product they were putting out, in my opinion.
Art is always subjective.
Yep.
I thought his art that he put out there was fantastic. I think
I'm not discrediting. He was very good, and we even talked about this, and this is a perfect segue. He was good at highlight videos, I thought.
Oh, he was excellent at highlight videos.
I'm terrible at highlight
Me
videos.
too.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah,
but his product always centered around side characters instead of the main characters. And that's where him and I butted heads.
Now, for someone who was an auxiliary player like me, I was like, fucking A.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a place for that, but when I'm trying to tell a story about the conquering hero and the destructive force villain, and that's what I'm going for to sell my pay-per-view, my premium live event equivalent, I don't care what this referee's doing.
Yeah.
I don't care what this security guard is doing. But to those guys, that was their WrestleMania. So, I mean, there's a place for all of it.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you were. But
Madrox is here, guys.
Yeah, Madrox is here. Usually whenever we do these marathon recording sessions, Madrox doesn't contribute as much as he does normally.
Yeah, I also apologize for that because this with this one, like this has a lot to do with UWC Online and all
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, you
were.
I'm just gonna sit here and sit my who you boys take over.
That's what's up.
But well, that's the you almost weren't going to be able to be here today because you were sick.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just do a 1-on-1 with Brian. It'll be fine. It'll still be good. But no, like you. Like, and it's so weird how that all coincided because, like we talked about on the first one, you did the knee injury. You were doing less and less bookings on Saturdays. So you had all day to sit and edit. And again, for those of you that have never video edited, it takes you got to be built different to video edit.
Now, the times that I did have Saturday bookings, oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Sometimes it was Thursday for 01, then Friday for UWC, Saturday somewhere. And then I just had to go ahead and marathon it on Sunday because I needed to get it out by Sunday night. Eventually, I gave myself a little break and was like, okay, Mondays are synonymous with professional wrestling. So when you're done watching Monday Night Raw, go ahead and pop on UWC Online.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost one of those where it's like, do we applaud you for the work rate or do we be like, brother, you're a fucking psychopath? Like, it's just one of those weird.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a weird gray area because, like, as your very good friend during that time, I knew to just not bother you on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. I would just be like, I'm not going to message Brian. I know that he is busy editing and I don't want to mess up his flow because then when I transitioned out of wrestling and started doing my YouTube stuff, I was in the same boat where it's like, I have to edit and I didn't want to be bothered while I was editing because it's just, again, you have to hyper focus on something. And there's a mental thing there, man, because like you have to have just a different mindset when it comes to editing a wrestling show. It's just crazy.
Outside of the editing specifically, UWC was 100% a full-time job that I never got $1 for.
Yeah.
I never got paid $1 from the time that I took over with the hostile takeover of the show. Not one single dollar was made for me personally. And every single day of the week I was working on UWC stuff.
Yeah. So for all you guys that tax season comes around and you want to buy a wrestling ring because you think it's a get rich quick scheme, no. Yeah. Absolutely not.
What do they say? The quickest way to become a millionaire is to start as a billionaire.
Yeah.
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 That kind of thing. But I was booking the talent. I was writing the stories. I was doing all of the graphics, all of the photoshops, all of the social media stuff. I was doing all of everything at the show when it was live. I was in control of all of that stuff. I was often wrestling on the shows. And then as soon as the show was over, we're packing it up, getting ready to go for the next week, and I was out editing the show.
Not to mention, you got to go get the concessions. You got to go,
and also have a real job in order to pay that because wrestling wasn't paying me any money.
Yeah, and try to have, whether it be romantic or friends, like have relationships with people outside. It's just like it was.
Oh man, those suffered.
They did.
You're well aware of that, but man, to anybody that wasn't around at that time, especially for the record, anybody that was around me in like the end of 2016, my bad. I am sorry. I was a terror. That was the worst version of me. Hopefully I've gotten better since.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we all have. We've all done some growing up and we've all, become better. And is that energy drink still kicking your ass? Because you're over there wiping your forehead like and you're not even sweating.
Am I sweating right now?
No, you're not.
Am I sweating?
No, but you keep wiping your forehead like you're sweating.
Your arms are starting to get red to match your face.
My arms are red.
So
this is not sponsored, but Gorilla Mind is legit.
Yeah.
So it's a little expensive. But if you can find it at Vitamin World or something, go ahead and get it.
It has really messed you up. But yeah, that was the thing that, like, we talked about whenever Travis was on here, like those Friday night Georgetown shows, like it's that quote from The Office where Andy Bernard is like, I wish there was a time to know that you're in the good old days while you're in the good old days.
Oh, 100%.
Because those are the times of our lives. Those were the times of our lives. Like you said, Thursday, we would be at 0-1. And then Friday, we would be in Georgetown. And then Sunday, we would maybe be in Champaign or Maroa. So you got to look at it from my perspective, too, because Thursdays, I would be driving to Georgetown, meeting up with you, driving to Champaign, driving back to Georgetown, driving back to Terre Haute, getting up Friday, driving to Marshall to meet Blake Reed, and then driving to Georgetown, and then driving back to Marshall and then back home. And then Saturday, I was probably driving again to Georgetown to then drive again to Champaign for 0. And brother, Route 1 out of Paris, I could drive with my eyes closed. If I drive on that road, I haven't driven on that road in years, I will probably puke because, my God, I fucking hate the town of Georgetown, Illinois, because I've been in it so much. But and I say that with sarcasm, obviously, because I owe a lot to that town.
Yeah, I'm with that. With all of that too, like with you guys, like you said, meeting up with like Blake and Travis, coming on up for a Friday show. It's like, yeah, that's excellent. You get your little car ride, you have fun, have your stories, you go do your show, then you get on out of there. I didn't get that option.
No, because you were 5 minutes from the building.
I was 5 minutes from the building, and I was the first one there, last one to leave every time. Obviously, I mean, I'm the one renting the building, but none of that could have been done without the help of your group, without the help of Cecil. Man, Cecil stepped up big. He's nothing if not a walking rib, but that man, especially in the UWC Online days, there's no way I would have been able to do that without him.
You can't stop him. World's in his pocket.
So, and he has learned, because he's been dabbling in promoting as well, and he is learning exactly how hard that is and why I had to be as obsessive as I was. I was a one-man team, because the reason being, so let's say, Cecil's trying, or let's say you're running a show. Madrox is your money guy. You got Colby Jack is the one in charge of the building. You got Clayton involved with the concessions, and then you got Parker handling the bar. Of course he does. So, so you have all of that, and then, oh man, Parker dropped the ball. We ain't got a bar. Oh no, Clayton doesn't have any concessions, and now it's Clayton's fault. It's Madrox's fault. It's Colby's fault. It's everybody else's fault, and you're taking the brunt of it. But with me, I knew that if any part of that fell apart, it was my fault. I was in charge of concessions. I was in charge of the building. I was in charge of the card. I was in charge of the stories. And if those stories didn't translate into a full house for the big paid show, then it was my fault. My stories weren't good enough. Nobody cared enough about Jimmy Carrot versus Aaron Matthews to buy a $10 ticket to go see it. Nobody cared about Blake Reed and Harker Dirge to pay $10 to see it. So that's where I had given myself an aneurysm, constantly trying to get all these pieces moving.
Yeah, I stand by, you're the best promoter I've ever worked for. That is no discredit to most of the promoters that I've worked for, a very big discredit to a few I've worked for. I really think that, people should, like, if you're booking a wrestling show, I firmly believe, granted, you had the ability of you had weekly, so you had more storytelling, but I really think that more wrestling promoters and creative or whatever should sit down and study the UWC product from 2013 to 2016 or whenever it was, because there's a lot to learn from that. There really is. Like, whether it be your borderline obsessive commitment to making the company work, or your dedication to the storylines, or just the presentation in general. There's a lot to learn.
There was a lot of chicken salad.
Yeah, there was.
If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Because during that time frame, some of the best names in this area, again, we've talked about Christian Rose, you're paying for Christian Rose. You're paying for Matt Cage. They can't just come down for next to nothing or nothing to help your little product out. And some of these times, for when you're charging $2 admission, these guys ain't cashing these big WWE paychecks. These guys at best might get a few dollars for gas, but they're doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it because they're doing something and they're getting better. Because of whatever you're learning here, take like the performance center. What you're learning there, you may be making, what is it? Some of those guys make like $50,000, $60,000 a year when you're in the performance center. But you learn the skills needed to go to the WWE main roster where you can make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, maybe more. Some of these guys are over $1 million a year. So,
yeah.
And so you're learning those skills to get to that point. It's up to you to invest in yourself.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. So, we're going to probably be not necessarily wrapping up, but we're going to be in the back end of this podcast here. And I've teased it on Spot Show. I've teased it on Page Show. I would be remiss if we did not talk about the legend. And I say legitimate. That word gets thrown around a lot, but the word means something with this man. He's a fucking living legend. He is a Midwest wrestling god. We gotta give Harker Dirge his flowers because let's just talk about Harker. Like he's the man.
Are you going to bury Harker now?
I'm going to bury him.
Is that what we're doing?
No,
We can bury
I have
people now?
no reason to bury Harker.
We're still about 25 more minutes, then we can go to the burial.
Yeah, we'll wait on Page Show when I bury him. No, I would never bury Harker. He's the fucking man. He is, like we talked about it, like I view you as my mentor, but my mentor's mentor is Harker Dirge.
Harker Dirge is the greatest man I've ever known. 100%.
He's up there.
100%. No questions asked from my vantage point. He's the smartest. He's the most knowledgeable. Not just in wrestling, dude. The man is a wealth of knowledge in life. At one point, I'm gonna put him on the spot, and then if he gets a hold of me and he's mad at me, then I know he's listening to the show. He said, "You talk to me about wrestling, politics, or porn, and I'm your guy. I can talk to you for hours, and I can tell you anything you need to know."
But that's good, but that's giving him a discredit as well. Pick a topic. He'll fucking talk to you about it.
Yeah.
He'll fucking talk to you about it. Like I'm going to tell you my favorite. I mean, God damn it, dude. There's so many favorite Harker stories. But the one that really sticks with me is I went through a phase where I was like, I think I would like to try stand-up comedy. And I had like 7 to 10 minutes written. And this is when I was the host of Thursday Night Throwdown. And I set the bar very high on that one. But Harker comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Dickie." I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why don't you go out there and do some of your stand-up?" And I was like, "What?" And I said, like, when the show starts, he goes, "Why don't you go out like 5 minutes before the show starts and just go do some of your stand-up?" "You sure about that?" And he goes, "Yeah, it'd probably get the crowd into it." He said, "You're a funny guy. I've shared a locker room or two with you. You're a very funny guy, and you're very more than capable of doing it." And to hear Harker Dirge say that you're capable of something, I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. And then I went out and bombed. Yep. There's a little bit of a smile on your face. He was probably doing it to rib me.
Could have been. But
at the end of the day, he still was able, whether he was ribbing me or he was dead ass, he gave me the confidence to go out and do it. And to say that I bombed, like a few people laughed, but it's like, still yet, even though it was a rib, fuck you, Harker, but and I mean that with love, but it's like, he still, regardless of a rib or not, he gave me the confidence to go out there and do it.
He can equally motivate you as well as put an unseen amount of pressure on you.
Yeah.
Because if you're motivated to go get it done, but now you got to make sure you impress because he's the one that just put his neck on the line for you. Realistically, for the situation. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough because I've been that guy when I've had a match or I've had a promo or something. I come in the back and I look over at Harker and he's just got his head down and he's like, no. Or worse, you get angry, Harker, where maybe he hasn't eaten that night and then he makes you feel like you're about 1.5 inches small.
Harker never yelled at me for anything.
Oh, it hurts.
It
hurts a lot more. I would rather he just beat me up in the ring.
Yeah.
Because at least I know then he's going to be snug but safe.
There was one spot that I had with him that I kind of messed up a little bit. It was supposed to be, it was during the TLC match. He was going to choke slam me off the apron onto Blake Reed, and Blake Reed was going to catch me. And there was a miscommunication, and it was the standard chokeslam miscommunication where you think you're going, but you're not quite yet. And I slipped a little bit and I panicked. I grabbed the top rope and then he just pushed me off. And I land on the ground. I look up at him and he had that look on his face and I went, sorry. And then he went, and then just like turned around and went about doing the match. But I don't think there was ever a moment where Harker was mad at me. There were times where I had seen Harker mad that I was like adjacent to the situation, but never directly mad at me.
Doesn't it make you feel like that Homer Simpson meme where he just kind of slinks back into the bushes? That's what you don't want to be, because you don't want to be have him blah 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 blah. This guy. Oh, and you, since you're over here. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't go ahead and target me. I didn't do it.
Yeah. No. He's just like what can you say about the guy? I mean, just and then there was a time period where he and I, like, he was really into comics and we were like loaning each other comics, and he would show up to the show and he'd go, Dickie, you need to read this one. It's a really good one. And he'd like, we had like a book club. Yeah. Like Harker and I had a comic book club, and he would be like, this is one of the best Batman stories I've ever read. And I would go, oh, have you read this one? Well, no, I don't think I have. And then I would be like, I'll bring it next show. And I would bring him a Batman comic, and he would come back and you go, I'm gonna tell you here's what I liked about it. And like we would just sit and be talking about, and it's always very funny because you hear like, oh, these fucking nerds in the wrestling business. Go call Harker Dirge a nerd.
Yep.
I am daring you to go call Harker Dirge a nerd. But we talked about it on the last Spot show, but there's a little mini documentary that he made that it's called How Did I Get Here, I believe. You'd think that we would have looked it up to confirm.
We probably should have, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really good. And Harker, he was, and this is going to feel extreme, but it's the truth. Do you remember when Undertaker first broke kayfabe, how you felt? Yeah. Like, because he was so protective of his, like, I felt the same way with Harker. Because it was like, oh, he's like, pulling because he's talking about being Matt Maverick and being, bleach blonde Harker Dirge back in or not even Harker, bleach blonde Matt Maverick. And then like hearing him talk about becoming bloody Harker Dirge. And I was like, it was like a little bit of my childhood died. But at the same time, it was like, no, this is good because this man is a wealth of knowledge, and to hear his perspective on things,
it shows that the man is more than a character.
Yeah, he very much so.
As I didn't want to see The Undertaker sitting in a tub of ice next to Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right, now, he's a real man now. He doesn't have to go ahead and put on the hat and the trench coat. And Harker is the same way. Like I said, I don't know how much of his story he wants me opening up to the world, but I think as far as local people, outside of like his wife and some of his family, I think I know him better than most. I think I talk to him more than most.
But I feel like there's still more that you don't even know.
Like
you'll never know all there is to know about Harker Dirge.
So many layers to the onion. Many layers to the onion.
And it's probably one of those things of where like you find out a little bit of information and you're like, oh, I thought, oh, okay. And then it's just like, well, there's that. And then it's just I don't know, man. Like, I just learned like so much from him. Like, and one time I was like, Mr. Hot Shit Dickie Wabash, he can go out there and cut a promo. And I go, Harker, give me a word. I guarantee you I can fit it into a promo. And he goes, space junk. And I go, okay. So I go out there and I couldn't do it. And then he goes, couldn't do it, huh? And I went, no. And he goes, okay. So then it may have been the same show or the next show. He goes out there and he's got a promo and he worked space junk into his promo just to fucking mushroom stamp me and be like, you think you're hot shit.
I ruined one of his, I'm going to entertain myself and put a weird word in this promo as well. Him and I are in the ring and he's telling me in the back, he's like, all right, when I say tiny bubble, you want you to go tiny bubble? And then I'll go tiny bubble. And so he said, but at that point he said it in Harker voice. He goes, it's like, so you got me out here in this tiny bubble. And I was like, tiny, what? And I missed my spot. I blew my spot. And then, so we did the whole promo. It worked into a tag team match against Cecil Cerveza and Conrad. We did the entire tag team match. And then he comes in the back and he goes, you blew your spot. I was like, what one? He goes, tiny bubble. Like, what? We just had an entire match. We just did a main event tag team match. And your word is like, yeah, tiny bubble. You messed it up.
Yeah. So one of my favorite Harker Dirge moments, and it's not even a moment, but we were backstage at NVW talking. I remember who I was talking to. I think it was like Clayton and Dalton. And we were talking about Harker, and then Jimmy Carrot walked by, and I said, hey, Jimmy Carrot. He went, yeah. And I said, come here real quick. And I said, I'm going to ask you a question. I said, and I think you're going to react the way that I think you're going to react. And I sure hope that you do, because it's going to pop me bigger than shit. And he said, shoot, what is it? And I said, do you chop Harker Dirge? And then Carrot just started laughing. And I was like, that's the question. That was the response, because you did not chop Harker Dirge. And he was very, and when it would happen, he would want it to make sense. Yep. Because he let Bo do it like in a match, because that was Bo's gimmick, was the chop. But there's one match where a manager took a liberty on Harker and chopped him, and you could see Harker. You just remembered, didn't you? Yeah. You just remembered. Ooh. And you could see Harker, like, I know him well enough to be able to read when he was legitimately upset. So he was like pursuing her around the ring. And I was like, oh no. But, I wasn't even on that show, but this is something that we just watched like a few weeks ago. I was like, guys, watch this. It was Harker being mad. But yeah, he is probably going to kill me for this, but I won't forget his final match before the final match when wrestling. Yeah, wrestling. Yeah, when I have my next retirement match, we do the schmoz finish, 1, 2, 3. We're all hugging in the ring, and I look down and he's selling, but I see just a single tear go down his face, and I was like, oh man. And then we get to the back, and everyone, like, standing ovation for Harker, and he's like, thank you. And he's like trying to fight it back. And then he let himself show that emotion for like 30 seconds. And then he just went. So I felt like we rushed a few spots, and then he's just like talking with you about the match. It's just like that. And in that moment, I looked at it and I said, yeah, he's not done. I said, I feel like he'll be back. And sure enough, he was back. And I'm not faulting him for coming back. I mean, something can't keep us away from it, you know?
The stars got to align in a certain way. And if it's not, then you're going to have that in the back of your head.
And we've already talked about that, yeah.
It's going to be the back of your head the rest of your life, man.
Definitely. Especially when you commit literally your entire life to this, because Harker started training when he was 18.
Yep.
And from that point on, he was just, running the roads and making towns, and his story, like, it's not ours to tell, but there's an interesting story there.
It's a different level. Like, I was a professional wrestler who also worked part-time at a gas station. I mean, so that was me. So I did that, and then before that, I worked at a strip club, and I was a professional wrestler, but worked at a strip club. And at 20 years old, I thought that was the best.
Yeah.
Later on in life, I was like, well, that really sucked. I really realized that I was making $670 as a manager of a strip club, and I was not a good professional wrestler. Professional wrestler was a very quote unquote type of term, but that with all these other guys, maybe they're working at a Walmart, maybe they're working at a restaurant, maybe they're working at a bar, but they're also a wrestler. Harker was never that guy. He was like teenager. He said, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm a professional wrestler. And that's what he was. 100%, 100% in. No questions asked.
And there's really something to be respected. I have all the respect in the world for Harker Dirge. Always will. He's like, to call him the man is just, and even to this day, his influence is felt because Dalton Davis is out there and he's doing the little toe tap on the mat and he's doing the drop step and he's going, whoo, and like, and even look at Bo Sawyer's character like that he's doing now. It's basically an homage to Harker Dirge. And he'll even admit that. He'll be like, oh yeah, this character's Harker. And, man,
you know, Fabulous Jason V would never have been a thing if it wasn't for Harker.
Because he was trained by Adrian Street, so then he passed the idea on to you, right? Yeah.
Indirectly, because the time that I had gotten it, my previous promoter was the one that took all the credit.
Of course.
The one, well, yeah, I went ahead and did that. And then a year or so later, I was talking to Harker, and I found he's like, yeah, I'm the one that told him that that's what you should do. I go, oh, you did that? And then that helped work out a friendship and a relationship between myself and Harker. And then I cut out the middleman and I went straight to Harker all the time. After.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him doing that, again, with the influence of Adrian Street going ahead and bringing it over to me, that, you know, I would never have done what I did. I never would have got to the level that I did. Even though, it's not like I was, you know, I'm not main event in Starrcade.
Yeah.
Why Starrcade? I think I've said WrestleMania too many times.
It's different perspective, brother. We all have our different, you know. But
so I'm not main eventing some major show with, you know, tens of thousands of people in attendance. I'm not main eventing Wembley. That's a good one. That's topical.
Wembley.
Those poor kids.
I'm not doing any of that stuff. But to the level I did get to is the dream of somebody else. Maybe that's franchise Chris Hall's dream.
Maybe.
Check that out. That's a callback.
That's a perfect summary. Yeah. It looked like you hurt yourself when you banged your fist off your knee.
I went like that. My leg did kick.
It did.
He caught the reflexes.
I did. Got the reflex. But that was one of the best compliments I ever got from Harker. Without me sending it to him or anything, it's completely unprompted. He saw one of my matches. He saw one of my matches I did for a totally separate company that he had nothing to do with. And he saw my entrance. He saw my mannerisms, my mystique, the way I played my character. And he just simply said, Adrian would be proud. And I go, oh my God. Oh no. And it's like, just looking at that message, my eyes are wide right now, just thinking about looking at the message. And I was like, that was unreal. Cause that was like the greatest compliment I could have got.
Yeah. He's the greatest. Like, one of the best compliments I ever got from him was whenever it was the day of his last match. And I'm like, Harker, thank you for the honor. And he goes, you've always been one of my boys. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and maybe just in passing, he's just like, oh yeah, he's one of the boys, you know. But like, to hear him say like, oh, you've always been one of my boys, I was like, oh man, dude, that meant so much to me. But yeah. And
it's simply, you got there, I got there, guys like maybe Cecil. So guys like that. But when you start treating him like a real person, you should always treat him like that mythical being that he is. But every once in a while, you can treat him as a real person and have real life conversation with him. If you ask him for advice and then he gives you that advice and then you take that advice and get better.
And I did a few times. And I think that's why
that's going to put you on that different level.
He respected me. Yeah. There was one bit of advice that I legitimately tried, but I just like, he was trying to teach, because the acoustics of the Georgetown Gymnasium were fucking terrible. And he was trying to teach me, he's like, Dickie, no, you're to hold the mic in a certain way and like talking to it this way. And we're in the middle of a promo and I just see, he goes, hey, idiot, if you hold the mic. And I'm just like, and I'm trying to like, I go, I've won awards on this microphone, Harker, you know, just trying to get my heat or whatever. He pulled me to the side back and he's like, Dickie, I couldn't understand a fucking word you were saying. And it was one of those, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And I'm like, I know, Harker, I'm trying. I was in the moment. And he goes, just remember that next time. And then next time I go out there, I hold the mic and I'm talking over the mic instead of talking, and he goes, there you go. But yeah, I could spend another hour talking about Harker Dirge, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. We're going to be going into Paige Show. We've had you here all day. We've been making content with you all day. I just glanced down at my watch and I'm like, oh my God. But Brian, again, thank you so much for being on Spot Show, and then we'll see you on Paige Show too. You know,
check's in the mail, right?
The check will be in the mail, yeah. But we established this last time. You can't really find Brian on social media. Can't really find Madrox on social media. Me, I'm at AttaboyDickie on Instagram. Go to MadBashStudios.com to find the links to all of the MadBash stuff that we got going on. Again, Brian, thank you. You'll hear more from...
You can find me at my house if you want to come down.
Or sometimes at Dickie Wabash's house. Yeah. So have you met your quota for going out now? For probably the next month?
It's covered for a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to roll into one more Paige Show with Jason V, and then he'll become a hermit for the next 6 months or whatever. But
hopefully, fingers crossed.
All right, guys, we'll see you on Paige Show.